Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Meade Insurance Agency, 504-556-0809 or DaveMeadeINSAgency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
Cnc Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, Cnc provides patient-centered care for your entire family. Cnc Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we'll cover all the home teams, and we will get to it, I promise you. Saints, LSU, Tulane, Pelicans, all on tap today. And breaking it down for us, one of our favorites, Garland, Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, rejoins us on the program. Again, we were just talking before the show, the new time slot really helps us to be able to get a lot more correspondence on the program, and one of them is you. So we're good.
Yeah, well, I like this time slot there. Beautiful Thursday afternoon. Yep. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you. And before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks about what's going on over at Fox 8?
Yeah, right now, we are in the middle of it. We're in the back end of the season there with the New Orleans Saints. We got our shows, Black and Gold Breakdown on Monday night, overtime. We at 10:35, the four of us. That's Wonk Cage, Sean Fazan, Chris Hagan, and I. We talk on overtime. Wednesday night is game plan. Friday night, Fox 8 Football Friday. We are in the second round of the state playoffs right now. Some massive matchups. I'm going to be at the Brother Martin Jesuit game at Tad Gormley. Big old school Catholic League game. It's going to be really cool to see. A lot of viewers will know the name Jesuit star receivers, Luke Besh, John Besh's son. He's like destroying it. Got 3 touchdowns in St. Paul's last week. Brother Martin's undefeated, so it's gonna be a really fun game for us. And then on Sunday, we got tailgate at 10 a.m. We get you ready for Saints Falcons at noon, which is on, of course, Fox 8. And then Sunday night, final play at 10:35. So we got a lot going on today. I got my clean bill of health from the great people at Ochsner.
Beautiful.
In and out. So I'm ready to talk some football. I'm in great health.
There you go. Sounds good. Glad to have. We knew you were, because again, your blog has to do with, again, football, and of course food.
I run a lot.
But he runs constantly.
If you want to find me, St. Charles Avenue, probably about 8 a.m. Right. I'm going to be out there. Please don't cross over the streetcar line too fast.
There you go. And look, speaking of high school football, our director, William Hill, is a Bird graduate. They take on St. Aug this weekend.
Ooh, that's a big game for William there. Yeah. St. Aug Bird. St. Aug's really good this season. Broke Carr's winning streak. Carr had a year-and-a-half win streak. St. Aug beat them. The Catholic League is like a massive, just like throw the balls in the air. I don't know who's going to win. John Curtis has 4 losses this year, all really close. They're at Scotlandville this week. Scotlandville's coached by Lester Ricard, used to be quarterback at Tulane, so there's a lot of connections. But yeah, Brother Martin Jesuit, John Curtis, St. Aug, there's a lot of teams still in it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's start off with the Saints. They are now 9-2, 8 in a row, 31-3 win over Denver. And let's talk about the game first, and then I want to get into Taysom Hill. First of all, I don't think they should have played the game, and a lot of people have differing opinions on this. It was the worst quarterbacking play that I've seen in the NFL since, again, the strike-shortened season of '87. When again, we had the replacement players. And as I mentioned on Monday on my radio show, at least they were entertaining. It's gotten a little bit too punitive, in my opinion, with Goodell. You know, this could have been a situation where, again, instead of trying to punish the Denver Broncos for, again, the quarterbacks not masking up and not following the COVID-19 protocols, they could have delayed this game till Monday, played this game because, again, if you look at it, Driscoll was the only quarterback that tested positive. These other quarterbacks would have probably not tested positive. And of course, my reasoning behind that is, let's turn the tables here. If this was the Saints and this happened to, Saints fans would be going berserk. Considering, again, the history with Goodell. You throw in the $500,000 fine that the Saints have now, plus the fine they got previously, and this time a 7th-round pick being taken from them. Again, much too punitive, especially when you're talking about taking away draft choices. Draft choice, the lifeblood of any organization, and you can say it's a 7th-round pick. 7th-round pick is a 7th-round pick at the end of the day. And look, if you want to find the organization, find the individual players, I got no problem with that. Taking away draft choices, I think is a little bit over the top. Playing this game on Sunday, I thought was a little bit over the top.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen what they did with the Steelers-Ravens game. Right. I mean, got postponed numerous times, finally played Wednesday afternoon. I will say this is a crazy wild season, but I enjoy a Wednesday afternoon football game. Next week, we're going to have a Monday game on Fox at 4 o'clock. We're going to have a Tuesday night game on Fox next week. It is just like fly by the seat of your pants. Eric, I think the reason they're just powering through. They don't want to have. I think the NFL sees as a failure if they have to add an extra week to the season. Okay. They're just going to power through. They're going. They haven't had one game canceled. I mean, they moved the game around, but it still got picked up. They made it into a bye week. I think they just wanted to make the Broncos show an example of make an example of the Broncos, embarrass them. And after the game, Vic Fangio didn't blame the NFL. He blamed his quarterbacks for not wearing masks.
I agree with that part of it, but I thought it was a little too punitive. Yeah. Look, there are so many layers on this, though, Garland. I mean, who you're hurting. Yeah, you're hurting.
It was a horrible game.
You're hurting the team, but you hurt the fans. You hurt the integrity of the game. Well, there's a lot of things involved in here that, again, if you didn't want to be so punitive and say, okay, we're going to punish you now, we're going to make an example of you, that, again, this would have been an entertaining game. Can't go into a game without a quarterback.
Everybody said it was going to be like this entertaining game, how exciting. It was horrible to watch. It was horrible. And Coach Payton changed the game plan, just ground and pound. Right. And it worked for them. I mean, they got out of a 31-3 game, but it was a horrible game. It ended quick. It ended it was like a 2.5-hour game. I mean, it was like covering a high school game. It was in and out. But it was not pleasing visually. But the Saints, they got another win. Right. And you know what? For as many times they've been fine this season, at least you can now point to, hey, look what they did to the Broncos. Right. So Saints fans can at least, gauge this and that. You know what that just means this offseason? Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis are going to find the next Marquez Callaway, the next Malcolm Roach, because they're always good with these undrafted free agents. Right. So, it'll be a talking point. Coach Payton act like he didn't even know about the lost draft pick yet, which I love. Yeah. By the way, for everybody out there, Coach Payton reads everything we say or do. Like, when he says, I haven't seen that yet.
He's seen it.
He's telling a fib. Okay, I'm gonna make it cleaner. Right. He's telling a fib. He knows everything going on.
Right. Come on, the guy's active on Twitter. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, when he's throwing shade at Roddy White, retweeting him right after the game. Yeah, Coach Payton is very, very well versed in social media. Every single article written about the Saints goes to his desk. He knows everything going on about his organization.
No, I 100% agree. Let's talk a little bit about the. By the way, I want to make one more point. Oakland is also a team that got fined and lost a draft pick as well. They lost their 6th-round pick. Saints didn't have a 6th-round pick for this year because.
Well, there you go. At least there's some positive there.
They traded that away. We know that happened during the draft last year. Let's talk about Taysom Hill. Look, I kind of put this on Payton, this narrative right now, okay, of again, the scrutiny that everybody has on everything that Taysom Hill is doing. If Payton doesn't come out and talk about it, yes, he could be a starter in the NFL, and maybe, again, he might be the heir apparent here, even though, again, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Most fans are not looking at Taysom Hill and trying to scrutinize every move that he's making because they're looking at him as a backup who's coming to fill in. But now people are concerned. They're looking and they're saying, wait, is this what Peyton's really going to do in terms of the future of this franchise, in terms of an heir apparent? So I think that's where, again, a lot of the, I don't want to call it the fury of the fan base, but a lot of the curiosity of the fan base is about what's going on here right now with Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Coach Peyton has said throughout the last few years, this is the next Steve Young, okay? And I don't know why people were that shocked that he picked Taysom over Jameis. I mean, if you read what Coach Peyton has said over the years, Sean Payton is an offensive genius. And if there's any chance that he can show how smart he is, he's the smartest person in the room, he's going to go for it.
I agree.
And the easy choice would have been Jameis. No. Coach Payton's making a point. We gave this guy, $21 million over 2 years? Yep. I paid him a ton of money. I'm going to show why I'm the smartest guy in the room. And so far, it's worked. Okay, he went 5-0 last year with Teddy Bridgewater as a backup. He's going 2-0 this year with Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback. I mean, Sean Payton is working miracles. I mean, they can't draft a quarterback. I can see that's a problem there. Or bringing someone else in. But so far it's working for them. The game plan on Sunday was for him not to make mistakes. He did make one mistake. He threw a bad pick, tried to force it in there. But other than that, he held the ball too long because he didn't want to put it in a tight window. He took sacks and was trying to force something. I mean, you saw T.J. Finley did it in the LSU game, and the game was over with after that pick. If you just maintain the ball, you win the game, and that's what happened. They won 31-3. That defense is so vicious, Eric. Like, I could have handed the ball off to Latavius, and Kamara would have probably won that game still. So Taysom was done what he was told to do. Now, this week against the Falcons, it's going to have to be different, but that's what it dictated last week.
Right. No, I agree. To a point. I think that early they probably thought about, again, trying to see if he could throw the football. But I said all last week going into this game, Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. And you knew that, again, they broke the film down. And they were going to take away what Taysom likes to do. Look, he's been hesitant. Again, he locks on receivers. He seems hesitant to be able to throw into tight windows. But, again, he's a 30-year-old rookie for the most part. Okay, so, he hasn't had a lot of experience. Even though, again, he's been in the system for a while. Atlanta, the first half he was shaky, but he came back in the second half and he played really, really well. Again, Peyton comes out, falls on the sword against Denver, says, look, this is me. I told him to be conservative. We didn't want to turn the ball over, especially with the situation with Denver, the quarterback. But this is really going to be the litmus test for him over the next couple of weeks on how he is as an NFL quarterback, because he's going to get a chance now to go against Atlanta that has seen him once, been on the field with him now, and has the ability to be able, again, game plan against him, what he likes to do, what he doesn't like to do. And then, of course, following that, again, back on the road against Philadelphia. So it'll be interesting to see, again, how he plays over the next 2 weeks.
And this is going to be a good test for what we're going to see going forward in 2021. I had this whole offseason, I said this is it for Drew Brees. Then the Tampa Bay game on the road, like he was just like on fire, and I was like, hey, maybe he might come back. Like I gave a little. He ain't coming back after this. I mean, when you break 11 ribs and you collapse your lung,
I agree.
Like I'm sure the family's like, okay, this is end of the road. Let's move on. So it is going to be Taysom. I mean, why would Jameis come back next year to go against Taysom? I mean, Taysom is not setting the world on fire so far. So I would think those two guys, and then I don't know what they're doing, this Trevor Siemian situation. I guess they're just kind of kicking the tires on that. Maybe he will come to training camp next year. They're probably, if Drew's gone, they'll probably have 4 quarterbacks next year there. So you could bring in Siemian next year, maybe draft a future quarterback there if they don't lose any more picks to some mass problems there. But we're going to find out what they have in Taysom Hill. We don't know what they have in Jameis. I just don't know. I mean, we saw during training camp, he had a lot of rough stretches during training camp. He didn't have the greatest training camp. But I'm really intrigued to see. But these are all winnable games. Okay, they should win at Atlanta. They should win at Philadelphia. Drew Brees is eligible to return for that Philadelphia game. But then what after that? It's the Chiefs.
Right. And
I would like to see Drew Brees back for that Chiefs.
And I think that's what they're pointing to. I really do. But I want to go back to your point, because I think it's a great point. And I've talked about it on the radio show and a little bit on this television show. what is the plan going forward for the Saints? Okay, because I agree with you. Up until this year, and I've always been one of saying, look, as long as you can still play at a high level, and Brees is a top 10 quarterback, that you continue to play until you can't play anymore. But let's face it, he signed the deal with NBC, the ribs now, last year the thumb. Again, I agree with you. It's probably the point where you're saying, look, I've made my bones in football. I've got another career outside of football. I'm moving on. But Taysom will be 31 years old next year. And so you put the time into a quarterback that maybe you only have for 3 years, 4 years. I mean, a guy that runs like he does, 31 years old. I mean, what's the life expectancy of a Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback in the NFL? I mean, it's something you got to think about. So is he the bridge quarterback here to the next quarterback, being, again, a rookie that can come in, learn the system, and he's the guy? Or do they go out and get an NFL starter? Because let's face it, this team is a Super Bowl contending team and will be for the next 3 to 4 years based on what we're seeing here. So you've got to have a bona fide quarterback that can get you to the playoffs and gives you an opportunity to win the Super Bowl. Is that Taysom Hill? Right now, I would say no. The interesting thing would be on the Saints' part is if they go with a starter, whether that be, again, a player that is on a current roster right now that either gets cut or a guy they go out and trade for down the line. I'd love to get your take.
Well, the reason this team's going to be a contender going forward is because his defense is just playing on fire.
And look at the offensive weapons.
Offensive line is one of the best in the league.
Yes.
You got Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the league. You got Michael Thomas, one of the top receivers in the league. Now, Adam Troutman's going to be an up-and-coming tight end. I know Jared Cook, this might be the end of the line for him. Josh Hill, I don't know. I mean, Josh Hill's always getting, he has concussion problems, so that's going to be intriguing to see. Yeah, they got, Marquez Callaway, I think he's going to be around for a while. He's a really good receiver. You got Michael Thomas already. I don't know why any other team in the league. I mean, it came out this offseason that if Drew Brees were retired, that Tom Brady was thinking about coming to New Orleans. And it would have been a great move. I mean, this team is loaded right now. So if Tom Brady's thinking about it, there might be a quarterback down the line. I don't know what's going to happen with this Dak Prescott situation there. He's a free agent at the end of this season. I know Sean Payton would love to get Dak in New Orleans. I know I know it's kind of a long shot. But I would see going forward that they bring in 4 quarterbacks for training camp. Okay, maybe draft one, and then but on game day, you have to have 3 active, especially if Taysom Hill's in that mix because he's going to take a lot of hits. I think it would be smart by Jameis Winston to re-sign with this team. And going back to Drew Brees, I don't know if a lot of people realize this. Drew is shuffling his family around a lot.
Yes.
His oldest is in 6th grade, Balin. They go all the way to 1st grade. They got 3 boys and a girl. So during the season, they're here. Right when the season's over, they shuffle them back to right outside San Diego. Sooner or later, he's getting up in age. He's, 43? Wait, I'm 43. I think he's 41. I'm getting my numbers there. I'm getting the ages mixed up on them. But I think it's a point where
Brady's 43. He's 41, right?
Okay, yeah. I get my ages. I know I'm 43. I think it's getting a point where Brittany's like, we need, Drew's wife, we need to get everybody together. Right. We can't keep moving our kids around. Get them in a solid environment back in California because that's where he's going to retire to, okay? I get that asked that a lot. Is Drew going to live in New Orleans? No, he's not, okay? If you've ever been out to California in the San Diego area, you would understand why he's there too. He has a huge house out there right on the water. It's a beautiful area. So you also got to put family consideration in him. That's why I think this is going to be an end for Drew. But it's going to be fun going forward to see what these guys can do because another thing we got to watch too, Eric, is this Dennis Allen's going to be here next year. I think Eric Bieniemy should be the number 1 choice of any head coach. Of any owner. I think that he'd work perfectly with the Texans with Deshaun Watson. Yes. But I know Dennis Allen, his name's not out there right now. But did they continue this? Dennis Allen should be back in that mix again. He was a head coach with the Raiders. That was a bad deal. If they can keep Dennis Allen next year, then I don't know how far they're going to go this year. I think they're the favorite from the NFC to go to the Super Bowl right now, in my estimation. But if they keep Dennis Allen, they're going to repeat this next year. Right.
No, I would agree. And let's go to the defense now. Because, again, look at it. With a touchdown scored on them over the last, 3 games. You look at what they did last week, again, which is kind of a misnomer with 112 yards, which kind of catapulted them to the number 1 defense in the NFL. But they start off the season very, very porous on the back end. A lot of mistakes. They've cleaned it up. Now, with the addition of Quan Alexander, it has freed up Demario Davis to be more of a playmaker, with much more speed on the field on that second level. And again, just from between him and Gardner Johnson, and then you drop Malcolm Jenkins into the box, they're pretty solid when you go to the second level. Let's face it, that defensive line has been ferocious. This team now is playing with an edge and swarming to the football. This is the defense that, again, we saw last year when Brees went out. This is a defense that a lot of you guys who were at camp talked about, thinking this is going to be, again, a solid defense or one of the best defenses in the NFL going forward. They're finally playing like that, and that's one of the reasons why the Saints are where they are right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis to pick up Quan Alexander in a trade and get rid of Kiko Alonso, which is just an injury-prone guy. I mean, the Niners already dumped him.
Yep.
That's a fantastic pickup. I know Alex Anzalone didn't like seeing Quan Alexander because Anzalone's playing time's gone to near zero.
But he was on his way out anyway after this year.
But with Quan, and I mean, dude, DeMario, like, as he's getting older, is getting better. Right. I mean, it could almost be disputed that Vilma, Dome Patrol, which had Vaughn Johnson, Sam Mills, a linebacker, he is getting in to that echelon of top linebacker in Saints history, in my estimation. And they signed him a 2-year deal. I still think he's underpaid.
Oh, he is. There's no doubt. It was a team-friendly deal.
He is a leader on and off the field, loved in the community. I mean, his family, everybody knows about his daughter losing her eye to cancer at 1 year old. I mean, the community loves this guy, and he's looking solid. The defensive line, I mean, goodness. I never thought we'd get to the day where we're going to be talking about really worried about Trey Hendrickson leaving the team because he had too many sacks. You told me before the season started, Eric, that they're going to lose Trey Hendrickson because he's going to make some mad money somewhere else. I mean, Davenport is having a good year, not a great year, but when you got Cam and you got Malcolm Brown and you got David Onyemata is killing. I mean, he just started playing football like in high school.
And Rankins is hurt, but you haven't missed a beat since he's gone out.
Yeah, this might be the end for what? This is the last year Rankins deal. I mean, he's a great locker room guy, but man, the injury problems that Rankins has.
You don't have to sign a team-friendly deal.
Yeah,
I mean, no other, because of the injury. And I agree with you on Hendrickson. Again, nobody thought he was going to explode. But I will say this. Davenport's an under-the-radar guy. Yeah. Again, maybe he doesn't have the statistics, but when he's in the game, he influences the game just by being in the game. He just doesn't have the stats to be able to show it. And his big problem is, again, being healthy.
That's exactly what I was about to say. If he can stay healthy, and maybe this helps out.
Right.
This is less snaps for him. Trey Hendrickson's taken some of his snaps. I mean, the cornerbacks and the safeties look great because of the pressure.
There's no doubt.
Okay, I mean, when you put P-Rob in, Patrick Robinson in for Marshawn Lattimore in that Falcons game, and you don't miss a beat, that's crazy.
Right.
Okay, because P-Rob's not known for playing man-to-man coverage, but they got 8 sacks in that game. They were harassing Matt Ryan all game. I gather with this week there, we'll see with Jack Rabbit there. He's on the injury report, missed practice. So I gather P-Rob's going to pout back in.
Might be it.
But as you saw 2 weeks ago, 8 sacks against the Falcons. If they pull that same stuff against Matt Ryan again this week, then if you're going to have P-Rob or you're going to have Ken Crawley playing on that other side, it doesn't matter. If you're getting that kind of pressure, the secondary is going to look good with the Malcolm Jenkins and the Marcus Williams of the world.
100% agree. Also, on the other side of the ball, not being able to miss a beat on the offensive line when you have injuries. Again, the whole left side of the line was out last week, and they didn't miss a beat with Easton and Hurst. Hurst came in. He was on the suspension list for the first 4 games of the season, but he was a solid pickup. He's been able to play both sides of the line. Easton, again, a guy that was a former starter as well, has filled in. They didn't miss a beat there. And, of course, look, I'm one that likes when this team runs the football. And now they're using Latavius Murray. And all of a sudden now they've transformed themselves into more of a physical running team, which I think, again, you want to win in the playoffs, you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to play strong defense.
Yeah, and I love what they're doing with Latavius. They're just like wearing down the defense. I mean, he just plowed through the Falcons in the second half. Against the Broncos, just destroyed them. I know Alvin Kamara probably is not as thrilled. He's getting less touches right now. Didn't have a reception against the Falcons, but you love this 1-2 punch. And man, when they let go of Mark Ingram, there was a lot of moans and groans, okay? Right, and now Mark Ingram's on the bench. He hit that 30-year-old plateau. Right. Last year he killed it.
Right.
This year he's now on the bench. J.K. Dobbins is taking his carries. Other running back taking his carries. Mark Ingram's now forgotten. He hit that plateau. It's over with. Latavius is on an upward trend, and Mark's on a downward trend. the Saints do a great job of like figuring out when to hold them and when to fold them, and they did it again with Mark Ingram. So that running back group is looking good. I don't see a hole in Andres Pete's going to be back this week. He's at practice there after his concussion took him out. Tirana's probably going to be out this weekend with COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know what, maybe that's good. But I mean, not good they had COVID, but Armstead always gets a bumper nick here. Right. So maybe it's positive. He's out 2 weeks, get everything ready for the playoffs.
And Hurst has played well.
Yeah.
Hurst has played well.
And now it helps your depth. I mean, because you're going to need all these dudes down the line, because you're playing some brutal teams here. When you're playing the Chiefs, they're going to push you to the edge there, and the playoffs are right around the corner.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's talk about Atlanta, because my opinion is it's not what Atlanta does, it's what the Saints do. I think, again, when you look at the way this defense has played, 17 sacks over the last 2 games against Matt Ryan, if they can stay, again, with the ferocious type defense, where, again, they're putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Matt Ryan, he's going to have the same issues he's had over the last 2 games. On the flip side, on the offensive side, they're going to have to open it up a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see, again, how Taysom handles second time around against Atlanta with the film there, but I still feel, again, they're going to run the football. Only the Saints lose to Atlanta is if the Saints beat themselves, in my opinion. Yeah,
and the Raiders, I mean, did they even show up last week? I saw the score. I watched the highlights. I was like, goodness me.
Well, the turnovers crushed them. Yeah. Okay, really crushed them.
Yeah, you got to like what the Saints have going into this game. At least it's on, Taysom. You get on the turf again. He's going to run the ball. That's how you're going to win with Taysom. You're going to run the ball. How creative do they get throwing the ball there? I know Deontay Harris is injured this week. That's one less weapon to watch for this week, though. On the punt returns, they kind of
and Callaway possibly out as well.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. Right. I'd like to see get more active is Emmanuel Sanders. I know that Drew before COVID, Drew started getting same wavelength with him. He hasn't got a lot of catches.
No,
Taysom's main guy is Michael Thomas there, which I'm sure Michael Thomas loves because he wasn't getting a lot of looks when Drew was quarterbacking. But I want to see more from Emmanuel Sanders. And I know that Michael Thomas is his like security blanket there. Jared Cook is doing really well. They're going to open it up this week. They got to. Yes. You can't do what you did last week this week.
Well, and to your point, again, Taysom is going to have to prove in one of these games. Okay, they're going to try to shut the run down and make him beat them with his arm. And he's going to have to prove that at some point. Because, again, look, Raheem Morris is a great defensive mind. We know Fangio was last week. These defensive coordinators, the defensive-minded coaches are going to put a plan together, say, Taysom Hill, you're going to have to beat us with your arm. And it's going to be coming one of these weeks, and I think this might be the week in Atlanta. Yeah, and the Emmanuel Sanders, I know that was a duck pass, but I'll look back and look at it. He got hit like right when he let it go. So I know people want to like make fun of him for like that duck throw, but Emmanuel adjusted to the route. I know he fumbled it, but he was already down. I would like to see a few more deep balls. And I think the original game plan might have been in Denver, maybe to do those things. We just never know when you lose all 4 quarterbacks in your roster. I want to see him throw more on the second level in the tight windows. That's been, again, he tunnel vision on Mike Thomas. I want to see him be able to go in that second level. Because you saw, if you went back and looked again a little bit at the game again, you could see in those first couple series, there were some guys open in those tight windows in the first 2 series where he chose to hold the ball, hesitated, got sacked a couple times, threw it away. He's going to have to prove he can throw it in those tight windows. If he can do that, then again, teams are going to have to play him honest. Yeah, he is throwing those tight windows to Michael Thomas only. Because he trusts him. Right. Yeah, I mean, Michael Thomas on a slant's like even, that's even money. That's going to happen every time. Well, I could throw to Michael Thomas on a slant. I need to see your high school video there. But, that's something that I'm intrigued to watch. But this is going to be the Taysom show. I don't see any plan where Jameis is going to fly in there. No way. It's going to be Taysom unless something injury happens to him. But Drew's coming up. I mean, you've seen it. He's talked about it, that Drew's is fighting like heck to get back. As we knew he would. Yeah, I mean, you saw what the last season there. This is going to be something to watch. I just don't think. I mean, Philadelphia's horrible. I watched that Seahawks game the other night. Carson Wentz threw that pick in the end zone. What was he throwing to? So they should roll through these next 2 teams. Kansas City's the game you got to point to for him to come back. I'm really worried about it. Like if you're a Saints fan, that's who you're worried about.
not only this time around, but I still think the Saints are the favorite in the NFC.
As do I.
That's going to be the team. I saw the Pittsburgh game yesterday. They barely beat a Ravens team with RG3 as their starting quarterback. I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, so do I. All right, we'll take a break. By the way, who do you like this weekend, Saints or Atlanta?
Oh, come on, man. Yeah. I'm on the Saints until the Kansas City game. I got to know who's quarterback in the Kansas City game before I make anything. For the next 2 weeks, they should beat the Falcons and the Eagles. He's
Garland Gillen. I'm Eric Asher. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. Stay tuned for a message from our underwriters. We'll come back. We'll talk LSU. We'll talk Pelicans and Tulane.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Experiencing rough weather with a bad roof can be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be.
Suburban Roofing, because when it comes to roofing, there is a difference.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports is our guest on the program today. LSU loses to A&M 20-7. Let me say this. I don't think this team will be a contender again until they can get the offensive line fixed. And Garland, look, you were a great guest to have today. You've seen these young players, these blue chippers that they've recruited over the last few years, the Cardell Thomases, the Doomervilles. You know, the question I get all the time is, where's all this young talent that we hear that was stockpiled on the offensive line, and why aren't they playing?
Well, Thomas has been dealing with injury issues for the last 2 seasons. They're right now trying to get Liam Shanahan, the grad transfer from Harvard, at center. They're begging him to come back next year, okay? But he had a really rough game against A&M.
Right. Agreed.
Ed Ingram is one of the more solid players on the line. Another thing they're dealing with is Dare Rosenthal was off the team. He's back on the team. Right. You're just dealing with a lot of offensive line issues. And you know what? Everybody wants to pile on the quarterback. TJ Finley didn't have a clean pocket all night. He was getting harassed.
They're freshman quarterbacks.
Yeah,
come on.
People love to bag on these poor kids. They're true freshmen. I'm no way today going to bag on either one of those kids because he was on. Now we'll say this. Finley should have took the sack instead of throwing the pick six, but he was trying to make a play. I understand either way. He was just getting harassed all game, and then when they put Max Johnson, it's the same thing. Right. It's not their fault. It's the offensive line's fault. I do want to see them get the ball more to Avery Gilbert this week.
Right. Agreed.
They're going to have to because obviously we're probably going to talk about it here in a minute because Terence Marshall's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're wasting him when you put him as an inline blocker, Gilbert. Yeah. You've got to have him out again as a receiver. And it was almost like we saw with Morrow a few years ago. Here's Morrow having a block, and then, of course, he gets an opportunity the following year to be able to catch the ball a little bit. And, oh, by the way, he's with the Oakland Raiders. With Gilbert, we already know he's a guy that can catch the football, and he needs to be out as a receiver in patterns and not an inline blocker. But, again, 25 carries for 36 yards when you talk about an LSU running game. That is pathetic. And again, to me, I just wonder about, again, these young players, these freshmen, these redshirt freshmen that have been here for a while, at least for a year or so, how they are not in the lineup right now with all the problems they've had on the offensive line.
Yeah, you're right about Doomerville. He was a big-time recruit out of the state of Florida.
there's Bradford. There's a bunch of them that they have.
And watch for early next month. Tristan Lee, who is one of the top offensive linemen in America, he's going to commit in early January. He's favored to go to LSU. He's a Virginia kid. They got Garrett Dellinger out of Michigan. He's probably going to come along next year and might get some playing time right away. So they're recruiting. I will say this: they got 22 Anthony Hunley just decommitted, so they're down to 21. They might have just processed them out of the program. Processing, if you're not in a recruiting jargon, is they get you verbally committed and then they're like, oh, we don't like your tape. That's what they usually say. Your tape isn't good enough for us anymore. You probably want to decommit, and they usually do. So they process probably Hunley. That was a 3-star verbal commitment. But they probably need another offensive lineman, or they need. O said this week on his radio show, he said everything. They're looking for a grad transfer. They're looking for a JUCO kid, probably on the offensive line right away. They need to pick up on. I think that's why the defensive line, they got a lot of dudes there, so that's why they got rid of Anthony Hunley. They got more other players there, so I think it's the offensive line because. The running backs, I think, are good, okay?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Now, I will say this. Chris Curry's having not the greatest of seasons, but Ty Davis-Price and John Emery Jr. are really good running backs. And for those numbers you mentioned, 25 carries, 36 yards, that's inexcusable with that team. And when you're shutting down that, you give your quarterback no chance at all.
No help.
That's why you saw the South Carolina game. That's why T.J. Finley did really well, because they ran the heck out of the ball. So if you got a good run game, then T.J. Finley, which I know Coach O on his radio call-in show on Wednesday night said it's probably going to be him again this week. I think that's the right move. I think Max Johnson's a decent quarterback when it comes to running. I don't know if he's there throwing yet.
I want to go there for a second because, again, even in the broadcast, they talked about him being one of the top pocket passers coming out of high school last year, but yet they want to use him in the RPO game. Again, I want to see the kid throw the ball more like he did more toward the end of the game last week if he is truly a pocket passer, because all I've seen him do right now as a quarterback for the most part is run. Again, I'm not going to get all over Finley. He does have to take care of the football a little bit better, but again, to me, it's the offensive line. On the defensive side of the ball, they played well enough to win last week.
I will say this. I really think if Miles Brennan was there in College Station, I think they'd have won that game because, dude, Miles Brennan was tearing it up. They should have been 3. The problem wasn't Miles Brennan at the beginning of the season. They should have been 3-0, okay? And if that defense would have showed up at the beginning of the season, they would be fine. I still don't know if Bo Pelini's a long-term answer for this program.
That was going to be our next question.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a long-term answer yet. We're going to see this week against Alabama. But he did enough. They should have won that game at A&M. If Miles Brennan was quarterback, they would have won it. They did the smart thing. They haven't officially said it yet, but they pretty much shut down Miles Brennan. I think Miles is focusing on the spring. He'll be back. He'll get a full fall. Hopefully, all this kind of these COVID restrictions will kind of cool down, and they can get back to a normal spring football. But Pelini, the cornerbacks finally stood up there. I think Cordell Flotz had a rough season. Derek Stingley Jr. has not played to a level that we're used to. But they shut down the receivers. Kellen Mond's numbers were horrible. I think they were 2 of 16 on third down conversions. So they're showing up. They showed up against Arkansas. They showed up against A&M. If they can show up against Alabama, then Bo Pelini might have saved his buns this year and going forward there because he's on a 3-year, $6.9 million deal.
41 total yards for A&M in the second half. Again, that defense played well. Flott played well. You look at the defensive line across the board.
Micah Baskerville is finally figuring out a linebacker. Jabril Cox has had an average season. Goodness, Damone Clark, what a bust this year, man. I think he played only 3 snaps against
rightly so. Again, he hasn't played well all season long.
Yeah. The 18-7. The 2 18s are Chris Curry and Damone Clark. The 7 was Jacoby Stevens. It's been a rough year for the big time number guys on this team there. It's been a down year for them.
Let's talk about Terence Marshall. Look, I'm one that thinks that college players should be paid, okay? And again, that's always a debate. But let's put that on the side for a while. To me, and again, maybe I'm old school, it used to be you play for your state, you play for your school. That's out the window now. Players go to LSU, Alabama, Clemson because they have a chance to be able to go to the NFL. These programs showcase them. They have a chance to be able to take it to the next level. But when you break it down to its lowest common denominator, you are playing for your teammates, the guys you sweat and bleed with, off season, in season. Those are the guys you're playing for at the end of the day, the guys on the team. Marshall steps up in front of the team, a guy that's quiet and doesn't make a lot of isn't a vocal leader, and tells the team that we got to come together. We got to finish this season out. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but again, an impassioned plea to the team. 2 weeks later, he's quitting on the team. Yeah, I can say opting out. No, it is quitting. He's quitting on the team. I don't like it. I don't like the way it happened. I mean, again, I didn't really like the fact that, again, we saw the opt-outs early in the season by players that were there for practicing, like Chase, etc. But I understood it. It's before the season. I don't like this in-season opting out. I'm not real happy, again, with a lot of the guys that are defecting in mid-season now, simply because, again, either they're locked, they can't play, or they don't like the system on defense. Get out to at least the end of the season. Love to get your take.
Eric, the precedent was set with the Citrus Bowl years back when Leonard Fournette.
Right.
I guess they didn't call it opting out. He just said he was going to prepare for the draft.
Right.
The precedent was set. The culture at LSU now is, and it's just, if you follow them on Twitter on Sunday, it's NFLSU, okay?
Yes.
Yes, I want to go to play at LSU because I want to go to the pros. If we win a national title, hey, that's great too. But the only reason these kids are going there now is because they know that they can get ready for the next level, which is great recruiting tool for LSU.
Absolutely.
The amount of guys they have in the NFL is absolutely insane right now. It's one of the highest outputs in the league right now. So that culture's there now. They saw Leonard Fournette just, not quit. I guess you could say quit, but they had one game left. He had nothing to gain in that game. You know what? Darius Geis went absolutely nuts in that game. Destroyed Lamar Jackson and the Louisville Cardinals down in Orlando. I was at the game. Darius Geis went nuts in that game. Now that it's out there, you see Jamar Chase leave before the season started. Tyler Shelvin, I think, left more because I think he's just lazy, okay? He was having weight issues all camp. Coach Ogeron pointed out it was 375, wanted down to 335. I think he just got to the point where Marshall saw what he did last week against A&M, which was unreal. Okay, he had 144 yards receiving, had a touchdown. By the way, his final play ever in college football is a touchdown reception.
Right.
I mean, you can't beat that. But I think he just saw that his draft stock was at the highest level. And going against Alabama, one of the top defenses in America, you don't know who was going to be the quarterback. I mean, they made this decision on Sunday morning, so you didn't know it was going to be TJ or Max Johnson. He just saw his ceiling was there, and he didn't want to mess with it. And these kids go to LSU to go to the pros. So I don't know if I can completely bag on this kid because he gave all he could for LSU, won him a national title last year, made the school a ton of money.
No doubt.
I could see both ways. I could see that people would call him a quitter with 3 games left in the season and a possible bowl game, but he maxed out his chances there of going to the pros, so I can understand why he would leave.
And look, I do understand from the standpoint of, look, you don't want to get injured, you don't want to put yourself at risk. I mean, I remember Ben Wilkerson a few years ago, right? Remember?
Oh, gosh.
Again, one of the top centers coming out of college that year. Remington winner. He gets hurt. He ends up again dropping in the draft. Was never able to be the player that everybody thought he was going to be with the Bengals. Out of the league within 2 or 3 years. So I get that part of it. But the other part of me says you don't quit on your team in the middle of the season. That's the thing. And it just seems like that is the way it is today. Yeah. In terms of college football, upper echelon college football, the so-called elite programs for the most part, these players again are there for one reason: to showcase themselves for the pros. Yeah. Okay, and that's it. That's the bottom line. It'll be interesting to see again how this plays out and how this is going to go forward. Last question for you, because we talked a little bit about Pelini. Ensminger's getting a lot of heat right now, especially with Joe Brady now in Carolina, the way the offense looked last year, what it's doing right now. And, of course, it looked much better with Miles Brennan as quarterback, right? Yeah. Okay? Yeah. And, again, as I've said on the radio show, it's hard to give Coach E heat right now when you're having to deal with 2 freshman quarterback and a line that's not blocking well. What are your thoughts on Ensminger? His age, the issues they're having right now, do you expect him back?
I think he should be back, and I think what you saw we did with Miles Brennan is the reason why he should be back there. I think he's just playing with the cards he's dealt. Okay, the Arkansas game, they didn't do hurry up. They were trying to run the clock down because they knew the defense wasn't as solid, though they were in that game. They did better. I think he's just this is the hand he's dealt. I got two true freshmen. When he had Miles Brennan, he had his guy. And Miles Brennan lit it up, okay? I have no problem with what Ensminger's doing right now. I don't think the game's passed them by. I think they're going to have a full off season. They can figure this out with Miles Brennan, their weapons. I also think, hey, now that Marshall's gone good, give me more Jeray Jenkins. Right. Give me more Cormore, Rummel alum. Give me more Keyshawn Booty. Give me more of those guys. Give me more Avery Gilbert down the field running go routes there. So, it's going to be intriguing on Saturday. Yep. I'm going to be in Tiger Stadium. The spread's 29.5. Yeah. Goodness me. So it could be a bloodbath. I cannot believe they're putting this on national television in prime time on CBS. Right. Man, it's going to be a rough one.
Yep, no doubt about it. Let's shift to the Tulane Green Wave. Before we talk about the team itself, Will Hall, offensive coordinator, is going to be taking over as the head coach of USM. It was reported that Chip Long, former offensive coordinator at Notre Dame, now an offensive analyst at Tennessee, former finalist for the Broyles Award back in 2018 as the top assistant in college football, is now going to be the offensive coordinator for the Tulane Green Wave. Your thoughts on this shift in terms of the offensive coordinator's position?
Will Hall did a fantastic job with Tulane. I mean, they have Justin McMillan. Yep. I mean, dude, he was not a good quarterback. It's amazing they got to where they got with Justin McMillan, a quarterback. And this season, Keon Howard, not a good quarterback either. He finally has a guy in Michael Pratt who I think could be the future of Tulane football there. Justin Ibieta, everybody asked me what's going to happen with Justin Ibieta. He missed all of spring. Okay, he was at a 4-year school, Country Day. He couldn't enroll early, so they put him behind already because Pratt got the 5 practices in the spring, got to stay there and learn the playbook there in the summer and everything. Ibieta got there on the back end of the summer, so he was already behind the 8 ball. He made Michael Pratt into a legitimate quarterback. Obviously, he's got a lot more work, but I think this is a great move for Southern Miss. I mean, they have 3 interim coaches this year. It's been insane. I mean, Will Hall, if you ever heard him, he's got that Mississippi drawl.
Of course. He almost was at Ole Miss last year, right?
Yeah. So, but you know what? This says something for Tulane. Right. We're used to the days where they take a Tommy Bowden or they take a Rich Rod there. Right. They get an assistant coach taken. It's been a long time that they've taken, that people were going to Tulane to get coaching. So 5-5 right now with that team. Obviously, that Tulsa game, goodness, I still can't believe they lost that game on national television. But they can make it all right against Memphis this week.
Well, we'll get back to that in a second. I want to talk about Ibieta because you saw him play at Country Day. Do you think he is a legitimate Division I quarterback?
I really do. I just think that he just didn't have the opportunities. Okay, when Keon Howard was the starter, then Michael Pratt was already in front of him before he even got to camp. So he's a third-string quarterback before it all starts. That means he was getting less reps with the top receivers. So now this offseason, the spring ball, it'll be Pratt, then it'll be Ibieta. He'll get to work more with the 2s, maybe get into the 1s. I still think he is, dude. He was bulldozing DBs, defensive linemen while he was at Country Day. I think he's a good quarterback. And this year's a washout, okay? So he'll still be back as a freshman next year because of COVID. This year doesn't even count.
Right. Michael Pratt, tough times when you talk about overtime against 2 ranked teams, throwing interceptions. No, that's not the reason they lost, but ultimately it was the reason they lost. You got to put a lot of them on the defense on both of those games.
How did they call timeout right before the final play and still get hit on a Hail Mary?
It's unbelievable.
It's so Tulane.
And look, 21 points in the last 9-17 of the game on a third-string quarterback coming in. Again, unacceptable, okay, at the end of the day, especially the way the defense was playing. They had played so well for most of the game to allow that to happen. Same thing against SMU, playing so well. They get the interception. Of course, they go down, they kick the field goal, they win the game. That's 2 ranked teams they could have beaten this year. What about that on your resume, looking at it in hindsight now, winning maybe having 7 wins instead of 5?
I just feel like Willie Fritz has just 6-6. 6-6, would have gone to 6 and it possibly would have been 6-4 if they had won that game last week. I just feel like that might be like the ceiling for Tulane, okay? Right, middle of the American, because I think SMU is a great program there. Obviously, Central Florida is good. South Florida is having a down year, but Memphis is really good. Cincinnati, goodness. They need to get Luke Fickell out of there because Cincinnati is just unreal with Luke Fickell as head coach. I think they will sooner or later. I just think the American's a really good conference, okay? I think it's one of the best conferences in America.
I do too.
And I think Tulane's just the middle of the road in that conference there. So it's going to be tough. They need a lot. They're working on getting another quarterback in here or there. Maybe check the grad transfer market.
Supposedly they got a young quarterbacks coming in. It's supposed to be pretty good as a freshman next year. But here's the deal, Garland. Look, they hung their hat on their defense this year. A lot of those defensive players, those stars, they're gone next year. Okay, so they're starting over on defense. Offensive line has played pretty well for them. The skill position players have gotten better. Okay, we know that offensive backfield is stocked. And like you're telling me again, they're at least too deep at the quarterback position. What my fear is, they're not going to have the same defense they have this year, next year. So again, you're starting all over.
Yeah, and it's going to be. I could almost go through the schedule next year and be like 6-6.
Right.
6-6. Willie, I think is doing a good job. I know his name will be up for some.
That's what I was going to go next. What do you think? I mean, if you're telling me the best you could do with Tulane is 6-6, what program, what big time program is going to come get you?
I thought that was hysterical last year that he was up to Missouri and Arkansas job. How can you sell to the alumni, hey, we got a 6-6 coach from Tulane? I mean, big money donors are not going to shell out money to buy out contracts and to bring Willie Fritz in there. I think Willie is exactly where he needs to be. I think Willie should be here for the next 5, 10, 15 years because at least it's stability. I don't want to cover 3-8 teams there or 3-9 teams, and I don't think Willie will let them get to that level. I just don't know on the other end if Willie could ever give them the 9-3, 10-2.
Well, again, he's 60 years old this year, so I mean, you look at it. You hope you can keep it for the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Okay, that's what you're hoping, and then again, he can continue to coach at a high level. What do you think about Memphis this week?
After what happened last week at Tulsa, Memphis is a really good team there. I probably could finish the season 5-6, maybe get to that bowl game.
Talk about it. I heard you talk about it the other day. Bring it up here. No, because I think it's legit. I think it's legit.
So, The Athletic,
right?
Jeff Duncan, who works for us up on a part-time level there. He works for The Athletic. Great people over there. They did their bowl projections. They have Tulane playing LSU in Birmingham of all places on New Year's Day. I really didn't consider appointment viewing to watch LSU and Tulane in bowl games, but if they're playing each other on New Year's Day, I'm going to sit down and watch it. I hope it's at 11 in the morning. I don't want to ruin my New Year's Day night by watching that game, but I will watch it in the morning. I think that's an exciting game. They haven't played in 11 years, 2009. And Troy Dannon doesn't make it appear like it's going to happen again anytime soon.
Yes.
So I'm all in for it happening during the regular season.
I am too.
And if you put those up against each other, I think LSU wins that game. So there you go. At least LSU can get a win in a bowl game because in COVID year, everyone's eligible for a bowl game.
Everyone's eligible.
Sign me up for the Birmingham Bowl, okay?
No, I'm with you. And look, I would like to see the New Orleans Bowl, but because of the tie-ins, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, the bowl tie-ins. But again, look, I have no issue. When I read that, I thought the same thing. I'm all for it. I'd like to be able to see it. Now, some people are talking about the possibility of going up to Shreveport and playing up there. But, again, Birmingham Bowl, the seat's perfect to me. I'd like to see it. Let's shift gears to the Pelicans. Wow. It's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe. Training camp has started for the Pelicans, okay? The season starts on December the 22nd. The Pelicans now will be the marquee game opening up on Christmas Day, 11 a.m. against the Heat, national TV. It'll be the first game of a quadruple header for the NBA. There has been a shift in this roster to the point now Zion Williamson is the longest tenured Pelican, which is mind-blowing. I want to get your thoughts. Okay, newcomers, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, Kyra Lewis Jr., Willie Herman Gomez. Okay, the returning players, Zion, Brandon Ingram, J.J. Redick, Ball, Melly, Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jackson Hayes, and Sedarius Thornwell, who they brought in for the bubble last year. So that's your team right now. Give me your thoughts.
Well, so you're going to have what? Your starters are going to be Adams, Zion, Ingram, Ball and Bledsoe, and maybe JJ for Ball. I don't know. They mix it up.
I would think Bledsoe with JJ coming off the bench, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I would probably say Bledsoe and Ball are your guards right now. I really like that lineup there. And then, coming off the bench, you got Nico, you got JJ, you got Josh, Josh Hart.
Alexander Walker. I don't know if Lewis is going to play this year.
Yeah, no. I wonder if he's like a G League guy or just somebody comes off.
Or if they even have the G League because of COVID. That's another thought.
And I really like Steven Adams coming in. I'm hoping Steven Adams can make Jackson Hayes a little tougher.
Yes.
Hayes is really good on the alley-oops, but I really hope Adams comes in there and makes him tougher. I think Adams is an upgrade over Favors.
I would agree.
Me personally. Ingram got the big max contract. Eric, right now, it's safe to say that this is either the 8 or 9 seed in the Western Conference. But we've been saying that every year that 8 or 9.
But I think they're legit now.
Yeah, and I like Stan Van Gundy. He obviously knows a ton about basketball. It seems, I know it's all training camp. It's all hunky-dory right now. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody's taking pictures of everybody. I'm intrigued that Drew Holiday, it's pretty much a Drew Holiday for Eric Bledsoe trade.
Yes, pretty much.
I think Holiday's better than Bledsoe, but they were given Holiday MVP pub last year. I just don't think Drew Holiday is that major dog. I think Bledsoe.
He's not alpha.
No. I think Bledsoe might be more that alpha. I know Bledsoe's been taking a lot of heat though. He's not shown up in the playoffs the last few years. I think Bledsoe is more of a leader. JJ's coming off the bench. He's that other guy. Maybe Adams could be that other guy.
He is a leader.
They need some dudes.
It's what they did. It's what they've lacked on this team since Anthony Davis was here. Again, they had it for a short window when Rondo was here. They don't have that alpha male. And look, that's why they transformed this team. Look, I love what they're talking about right now. The new one, Griff talked about toughness, grittiness. He talked about competitiveness. They talked about defensive intensity, offensive rebounding, not allowing opposing guards to get into the paint, making the bones on the defensive side of the ball. These are all things Garland we've talked about for the last few years with this team. Again, just not a physical team, not an aggressive team, more about wanting to just run and gun and shoot finesse. This now they've done a transformation in terms of the personality of this team now, and for me. With a Zion Williamson, I think it works perfect the way that Griff has reassembled this team.
And everyone forgets this. Last summer, I listened to numerous podcasts, radio shows. Brandon Ingram missed the end of the Lakers season with the blood clots. They're they don't even know what he is.
Right.
And now the guy's averaging 23 points a game. He signed a max contract. That was a huge swing in the trade right now. We'll see where these draft picks line up with the Lakers going forward. The key is Zion.
Right.
If he's healthy, the sky's the limit, okay?
Yes, he's got to play like we thought he was going to play.
If he's hurt, then...
Or out of shape. Out of shape is another part of it.
I hope he's in shape.
Okay, he's got to be in shape.
What has he been doing this summer?
I mean, look, he looked so great going into the bubble, and then he blew up like me, okay, in the bubble. He's got to be in shape. Look, if there's a weakness on this team, Garland, it's shooting. Okay, that's going to be the weakness on this team, outside shooting. So they got to find a way to be able to get outside shooting outside of J.J. Redick. Yeah. Okay, now Brandon Ingram is a nice outside shooter, but again, guys that can shoot. But they are going to be a physical team. They're going to be a tough team, and I think it's also the identity. This is a blue collar town, and I think again they will reflect the blue-collar town in the type of way they're going to play this year.
Yeah, I would gather Brandon Ingram's your guy in the final minute of the game that's going to take that big-time shot. JJ's in that mix also. I mean, the optimism's there. I'm still shocked that the season's almost here because I feel like we just finished the bubble already.
It's crazy.
And I mean, they're in training camp right now. I mean, I remember getting an email from the Pelicans like, "Hey, training camp this week." I was like, "What?" Yeah. Between high school football and college and pro, sometimes the Pelicans come out of nowhere and just slap me in the face.
Well, we didn't even talk about college basketball on this show yet. Okay,
yeah.
and look, and we're not going to because we only got about 18 seconds. but I'll tell you, that tells you how everything's kind of squeezed together now because of COVID.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I mean, Pelicans on Christmas Day. I mean, this town's going to be on fire on Christmas Day. Between the Pelicans at 11 a.m. and the Saints at 3:30 on Fox State against the Vikings, it's going to be a Merry Christmas.
No doubt. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's a rebroadcast of this program at 6 p.m. right here on WLAE, here on a Thursday night. Also on WLAE-TV, too. You can catch us at 10 o'clock on Thursdays. Friday night, 9 o'clock on Pelican 10 o'clock on WLAE. Saturday morning at 2 a.m. on The Deuce, and then back on Pelican Sports Television Saturday afternoon at 5 p.m. You can also catch us on the WLAE YouTube page, also on ericasher.com. You can see all the previous episodes. So again, a lot of ways to catch this program, including on our social media platforms. Again, special thanks to Garland Gillen for joining us on the program. Also, remember, you catch me on the radio on 106.1 FM. That is 4 to 6 weekdays. You can listen live at ericasher.com. All the major podcasting platforms now have our programs. So you can check that out on the podcast, Apple, Anchor, iHeart, etc. And special thanks again to our underwriters and also to the great folks here at WLAE-TV. We've got a great staff. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Tommy O'Connor, Tommy Fairley, and my director, William Hill. For Garland Gillen, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.